Welcome to the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences panel for parents. So we can have some of our current parents ask questions for you folks coming with different sort of questions you might have as a parent, whether this is your first student going to school or your fifth. You know, the idea is we want to make sure we can start answering some of those questions for you. Just for starters here, so you guys are aware, we want to make sure that you're sharing this information and reaching out to us and shooting those questions out. I'm going to ask that everyone uses the Q&A box, which should be down towards the middle of your screen if you're watching on a laptop. If you are on a mobile device, it may you might have to tap your screen and it might sort of fade in and be either on the side or at the bottom middle of your screen, depending on what you're utilizing here. We really want today to be an opportunity for our parents to share insights with you. But obviously, I want to take a moment to express first the pride and gratitude that we have for our own faculty, students, especially current students and alums who are out on the front lines today. Hi, Rachel.
Hello.
So we want to express our gratitude for all of our folks and especially our current students, some of them who are still doing clinical rotations and things like that, who are out on the front lines combating this. And really they sort of are the hallmark of what we're about as a university and our devotion to helping others. In addition to that, though, I want to thank any of the parents or families and guests who are watching that are performing one of those essential job functions, whether that is a healthcare worker or first responder. If you're working in our grocery stores, seriously, a very, very big thank you to you. Our society owes you a huge debt. I also imagine that you guys have a lot of questions around our institution and as we're moving forward with our COVID-19 policies and things like that. Just so you're aware, we are sort of going through and we're having our planning around contingencies, but we want to try and start this year off as similar to other years that we start off with students on campus in the fall and able to resume classes. However, we also can't be blind to the world around us, so we are putting together contingency plans if we don't. We're also going to be hosting follow-up webinars and also we're going to be posting information out to families as we come along. Some of it's going to go directly to students, some is going to go directly to families. So please, by all means, keep an eye on updates as we send them. We don't want to leave you guys sitting and waiting. We're trying to come to decisions as soon as possible while also being very responsible in that process. In addition to that, you know, I just, again, like to say thank you. I understand some folks are still joining. And again, this is designed to really answer your questions and give you a parent's perspective more than anything and what their process was like. And with us today, we have our two parents here, Rachel Hoffman and Jennifer Sarvela. They are wonderful parents of two of our students in the office here. One is Abby Hoffman. Abby is a fifth-year PharmD student, and Leea Sarvela, who is a first-year pre-med student. And then in addition to that, we also have Elizabeth Goreham, our Director of Student Financial Services. I'd like to turn it over to you guys to sort of give yourselves an introduction here. So I'll start with Beth, if you could start, followed by Jen and then Rachel.
Good afternoon, and I'm pleased that everyone is able to join us today. I've been at MCPHS now just over 6 years, and I will have to tell you my favorite part of this job is the students. Their passion for what they're doing. They come to my doorstep knowing what they want to be when they grow up, and we just try to help them get there. They're a wonderful group, and it makes working with them just a joy. I know that people are faced with all sorts of financial questions and situations that are unusual, and hopefully we can answer some of those here, but feel free to make an appointment with any one of our counselors to do some in-depth counseling and tell us what your story is, because we know it's not normal anymore. So we're here willing to help any way that we can, and I'm hoping to answer a lot of your questions today.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Sarvela. My daughter Leea is a first-year pre-med student at MCPHS, and she is loving every moment of it, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Yep. Hi, I'm Rachel Hoffman. My daughter's Abigail Hoffman, 5th year PharmD student. She's loved it there for the past 5 years. Can't believe we're entering 6th year. So any questions, I'll be more than happy to help.
All right. Wonderful, wonderful. For starters here, I figured we might as well get the ball rolling with a couple of questions of our own and let folks, sort of get the fluids running here. Just, for you and Jen, Rachel, if we could open up there. Jen first, then Rachel. Could you share some of the challenges that you guys faced when you were going through the process that parents find them in now and trying to make their final decisions on where to go and sort of what made MCPHS a fit for you guys in that process?
Absolutely. I remember being in other people's shoes this time last year and feeling very overwhelmed, and Leea as well. I have to give her a lot of credit. She took control and she did most of the work, so it took a lot of pressure off from me, thank goodness. The challenge for me was seeing her take over and just own it. And we went to a handful of universities and colleges, but seeing her step onto campus and interacting with other students and going to lunch with one of the brain cells, it was great. It was really great, and she had a great experience. And I think spending time and answering questions, talking to another student really made a big difference for her.
Wonderful.
It's been a while for me. Abigail is in 5th year, but it's been at least 5 years. But I just remember Abigail looked at a lot of different schools. She knew what she wanted, and she really enjoyed that MCPHS was so health driven and everyone seemed so focused. They have distractions, there are things to do, but everything was very health centric, and that's what she liked. And she liked having the big city, but a smaller feel for it. It wasn't overwhelming to her. She felt she could know the students, know the professors, and I think it has in fact worked out that way.
Wonderful, excellent. And we already got questions coming in, which is great. So one of the first questions that came up was, is there a parent forum or sort of like a Q&A or a parent Facebook group that you guys have been a part of or that you have options to join?
There's a MCPHS parents page on Facebook. Michelle Kane is one of the administrators. I'm very active on it, but I think it's got a lot of information on it. Feel free to send out a request to join, and she'll be added. They'll be added.
Wonderful, excellent. Jen, anything to add?
I learned about the Facebook group from Rachel, and it, like she said, when I met her at Accepted Students Day, oh my gosh, she's the best advocate for it. And it gives parents a lot of information, from things about school, things about finding housing later. I mean, there's a large amount of information there, and they're really good about getting back with responses as well.
Wonderful, excellent. I also had a question if either of you guys are from out of state. So if you guys could follow up with where you're from and sort of what the process was with move-in, and Rachel, you might sort of handle the second side of this, sort of transitioning into an apartment and things like that in Boston, what those processes were like for you guys.
Well, I'll start with move-in. I was very nervous and scared and brought my own dolly and the whole 9 yards, pulled up, and they had bins there, and it was unbelievably smooth. It was quick, it was efficient. I was so impressed that I actually emailed Ricky personally that evening to thank him, because I felt very comfortable. By the time the whole thing was done and moved in, I was very comfortable with how it went, and I was really impressed. It was very, very smooth.
I agree that move into the dorm first year couldn't have been easier. I was worried about that myself. It was down like clockwork. My daughter lived in Treehouse first year. The move-in was great. Even waiting for the elevators wasn't bad. You know, it was really very smooth. That was fantastic. And then the second part, moving off campus, it was a little bit more challenging. The school gave some direction as to, I guess, kind of areas to go to. I don't live that far from Boston, so I kind of knew where I wanted Abigail to live anyway. Ultimately, the first year she moved to the Fenway area. That was a long walk for her, and now she lives really close, just a couple of blocks away, Mission Hill. And there are so many options. There are so many apartments out there. You just think of a price point and then trying to kind of go from there. I don't know what else to say. Abigail did take the reins on finding apartments, but it's worked out very well. I feel that she's been safe off campus. The city has a lot to offer. It's really gone well.
Excellent, wonderful. And then just to add on to that, I guess, have you guys sort of had conversations with your daughters and sort of gone over things they like about campus life, how they describe that? Obviously, some parents haven't been able to make it onto campus and see it for themselves. So could you describe some of that yourselves?
Abigail loves living there. There's a lot to do in the city. The school does a lot. She does things with the colleges of the Fenway. Let's see, the movie theater. My daughter's involved with Brain Cell, Peer Mentor. She's in ACA. I don't even know what all the initials are. I apologize. I was ready to say something else. I forgot what it was. I think that there's a lot going on. She knows students at some of the other schools. She does primarily stick to the MCPHS schools students, but there's just so much to offer.
I remember right after Leea moved in and met her roommates for the first time, they took a trip to the Boston Common. And Leea's pretty familiar with the city because we've been going back and forth for some time. I used to work in Boston, so a little bit familiar. So she was kind of the tour guide for everyone across the city, which was kind of funny. But it's a very small city, actually, in comparison. I think they took public transportation there and decided to walk back to campus. There's so many things. You've got, like Rachel mentioned, colleges of the Fenway. That has been great. Leea's been involved in sports. She had fun playing intramural basketball. She's looking forward to flag football in the fall, which is surprising. But there are a lot of kids from all the different colleges, and there's so much to do. You can be as involved as you want to be, and you don't have to go far to be involved. There's so many things right close to campus as well.
All right, wonderful, excellent. This is more for you, Rachel. I've had a couple of questions come up with asking about the experience around finding internships and things like that. It's a little early for Leea to already start internships, but they're still being in her first year right now. But Rachel, could you talk about just your perspective as a parent and sort of how Abby was going through that and how, your perspective was on that process of her finding internships and things like that?
Oh, sure. First, the IPPEs and APPEs have helped tremendously. Abigail's met a lot of people through that program, which is wonderful. Abigail works at St. Elizabeth. She's in pharmacy intern tech. She loves it there. They have her work as much or as little as she wants, and that's worked out well. Her roommate works at Brigham and Women's. One of her good friends works at Walgreens, and they've all found their internships through the school, and a lot of it is just networking with other students and older students and finding the leads for those programs. I haven't heard of any that haven't found a job or an internship that they've wanted.
Wonderful, awesome, thank you. I do want to, I've gotten a couple of comments and questions so far around recently being admitted and things like that for some of our families. So just to give you an idea of some timelines and things that you want to be mindful of. And Beth, I'm going to pose a follow-up question to you after I wrap up this little rant. For families whose students were just recently admitted, given current circumstances, what we're doing is we're electronically sending out notifications right now to families. And then also the student's applicant portal is being updated as well. So no paper letters are going out at this time for acceptance packets and things like that. We understand the nostalgia around that, and we want to resume that once we're back in the office and back to regular operations. Also, as far as next steps, once you've been admitted, you do want to make sure you're staying updated on that applicant portal where we do send out the decision as well. That's going to be one resource for you. It's where we post a number of different updates. So, for example, say you want to go over what your cost of attendance and financial aid package looks like. There's actually a link in that applicant portal after you've been admitted that you will click on that goes to our accepted student events pages. And you can sign up for an affordability and financial aid appointment there, where we would do it over the phone or virtually with you. In addition to that, I often get questions around, well, what about housing and how do I do those next steps? You would first need to submit your deposit in order to have that housing contract processed onto the applicant portal for you to fill that out. Now, I really encourage families to first do an affordability appointment before they go through the process of going and submitting a deposit, because you want to make sure that you have a fit with all the pieces for you. Obviously, you want to make sure the community is right for your student and that the program is what they're looking for and their expectations are. But in addition to that, the financial component is also very important, which is why we do those appointments. I'd also want to take a minute to go over sort of next steps regarding the financial aid process, not only for some of you folks who were recently admitted, but some of you folks who have deposited and are sort of planning out the summer and steps they want to do. For that, I'll turn it over to Beth to let her answer that side of it. Beth, do you mind going over that stuff?
Thanks, Luke. So our bills for our freshmen starting in the fall will drop the first week of June with a due date of August 1st. So people want to start making their payment arrangements once they see that bill. It will be electronic. I think the hardest things for parents to get used to is that we don't send it to the parent, we send it to the student. So you want to make sure that you're having your student check their MCPHS email. Once they're in the student portal, they can give you shared access. And I know the students get a little nervous about that because they think you're going to be able to check up on their grades or their academics, but it really just gives you access to the financial side of the house so that you can log in, get your own password to get into the student account and see that and help manage that. But we are treating them as adults now, and that the bill is their responsibility. We will work with all our families over the summer to get a financial plan in place. But those should be solid by August 1st. Your next steps would be, to make sure that your financial aid is all set. That's in a student portal that the students have access to. They should be getting notification if there's missing items and how to complete those missing items. Some students are randomly selected for verification, and they'll be getting an email from a company called Verify, and then they can upload their documents for verification. Also, if the students are accepting any of the loans that were on their award letter, they do need to do a master promissory note and an entrance, which they can do on studentloans.gov.com. They have gotten information on that. They get an email reminder to do that. So again, have them check their emails. This is if they've deposited. They don't ever want to do any loan information unless they're committed to the school. And then we will work with you to figure out what's the best plan, whether you're going to borrow a student loan, do a plus loan, a private loan. Those should all start happening probably in May. You want to start doing the loan applications. Any questions? Every student has a financial aid counselor that we can put you in connection with, and we can do that on the phone or through a Zoom meeting so that you're face to face with, that's more comfortable. But right now we're dealing with lots of phone appointments, and that there's a link on our site to make an affordability appointment, or if it's just a quick question, shoot us an email and we will get right back to you to our main SFS box, which is just sfs@mcphs.edu. We're happy to respond to any quick questions that you have. One quick question about the bill. It will have housing on it if they've decided and deposited for housing. It will also have health insurance on it, and the health insurance for most of our dependent first-year students can be waived, but that's a process and you need to waive it annually. So sometimes people get a little panicked when they see that because it's like almost $3,000 charge. That needs to be waived. If you have questions, again, feel free to email us. Right now, email is probably the best way to communicate with us because everyone is working remote. When we are back on campus, it's much easier to come in for a visit or a phone call. But staff do have cell phones, so they can respond. If your best way to communicate is a cell phone, just send us a phone number. We're happy to contact you by phone. You know, we do have an orientation planned in the summer, whether that will be in person or on remote, we don't know yet. We're planning. Everything will be back to normal, but it really is a work in progress. And as soon as we know, we will communicate that to our families.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. One other piece I meant to mention when I was going over sort of next steps, especially for your recently admitted families, something that's important that I find often will slow down some processes around financial aid. Please double check your FAFSA. Make sure that our school is added in the schools to be delivered. And if we're not, you want to resubmit the form, not just save it. So you want to add our code, which is 002165. Again, that number is 002165. Go into your FAFSA, make sure that that's added on the schools to receive it, and resubmit the FAFSA if it hasn't. That way we ensure that the information reaches us and we can get you a package as soon as possible. Sound good, Beth? Is that
Sounds good.
perfect?
Yep. Thanks, Luke.
Beth is the authority on that. I want to confirm with her. Wonderful. So I've also had a couple other questions about some of sort of, you know, what the student experiences are on campus and their favorite things about campus life. So Jen, could you start and discuss that, and then maybe Rachel, if you could follow up?
Some of the things that Leea is excited about and really enjoys is the location of the school, the proximity to the hospitals being right across the street. She absolutely loves being a brain cell and working in the office with the administration and spending time with other kids, and the fact that MCPHS is a small university but has access to colleges of the Fenway and meeting other kids and playing sports and going to concerts and things with kids from other schools, which is nice. So you have the small school feel and instruction, but you have many options that a larger university would have. So she loves it. She misses it. She wants to come back.
I have to say the same thing. Abigail really loves being in the city, but she loves the comfort of the smaller school feel while you're in the city. She's got the benefit of going downtown, seeing a show, or she could take the train downtown. She can walk downtown. It's only a mile to the Pro. It's a great walk down Huntington Avenue, or you could take the train back after lunch at Cheesecake Factory or something. But there is a lot going on, and it's just, I think, a wonderful experience. I myself came up to Boston almost 30 years ago. I was transferred for work and I never left. So I like the location. I am partial though.
Wonderful, excellent. And then I also had a follow-up question from a parent about any extracurricular activities that your students might be involved with, how it's helped them get to know other folks or anything like that. Do you guys want to add anything to that effect?
Well, Leea's playing with Colleges of the Fenway. She's playing the basketball. She was planning to play softball this summer. And like I had mentioned earlier, she's going to try her hand at flag football. So there are many options. There's so much to do with the extracurricular activities that are made available to the Colleges of the Fenway.
Yes, Abigail does some art clubs. She does, well, in the school, she does a peer mentor, the Brain Cell. She's involved in a fraternity. She does more visuals, she goes to all the plays, the musicals. She goes to movies. She likes to go downtown. And there's always a group of other students to do it. Some of her friends are in the dance. There's an intramural dance club, I guess. Abigail does not do that, but I do know of it. So I hope that answers some. I guess I don't know everything she does.
Wonderful. So I have been getting a decent number of questions here, sort of asking hypotheticals of what if. I mean, like I mentioned in the opening here, I just want to reiterate, it is kind of tough for us to put an absolute nail down on this is exactly what the plan is going to be if we start the year virtually versus on campus and all those different things. As I mentioned, those are very much in discussion right now. I don't have a concrete answer for you at this time. It's something that our administration continues to discuss and is making sure that we're making an appropriate and safe choice for our students and our community at large. So that's something that we'll notify you when we do have more information. I just want to make sure, I've gotten a lot of questions here on this, so I want to make sure I approach that here again, just in case some of you guys missed the opening. Now, I've also had some folks had some other questions about the dorms themselves. And Jen, you might have a little bit more info on this, just sort of when you were moving in and whatnot, not just what the process was, but what's actually in the room and stuff that you guys needed to bring, some advice around that area.
Absolutely. Leea was at, it's not Fennel. What is the main building?
Metricaria?
Matricaria, thank you. It's been a little while. Thank you, Beth. So she's in Matricaria, which is literally above the school floors in the same building for most of her classes. Her room, it consists of 2 doubles. So it's 2 rooms with the girl, 2 students in each room, and it's a decent sized space. Then they share a common area with a refrigerator. They have a little stove, so they're able to do their grocery shopping down the road, and they have those sorts of things. One of the roommates, what they did is they set up a group chat for all the roommates, and they decided who was going to bring plates and cups, and who was going to bring a microwave, and who was going to bring all these different things that they needed in the rooms. But they come with a couch, a little love seat, a table, and a chair in the living room area that is part of the kitchen. It's kind of like an eating kitchen type thing, but instead of a table and chairs, they've got the love seat and a chair and a table. They have a separate bathroom, so they have a shower, and with the lavatory, with the toilet in there, and then it closes off for privacy. And then there's the sink and the mirror there if someone needs to get, ready for school and someone else is in the shower. And then that opens up into the kitchen area. I did see Treehouse. I don't remember Treehouse. Maybe Rachel can speak more about Treehouse. But the dorms are really great. Next year, she'll be over at Emmanuel. She's looking forward to that. And that is more of a suite type situation. The laundry's in the room, whereas at Matricaria, they share laundry facilities down at the end of each floor. So there is laundry facilities on each floor for the kids. I know at Emmanuel, they have washers and dryers there in the unit for the kids, and a full kitchen, which Leah's looking forward to doing some cooking. But I know with Abigail being at Treehouse, you would know more about Treehouse.
Yes, Treehouse, Abigail's first year, there were two rooms, 5 girls in the suite. She was in the 3 student room, and then the other room had 2 beds. Abigail's room had 3 beds, 3 desks, 3 closet spaces, and 3 small dressers. 2 of the beds they had set up bunk bed style, so there was more room in the actual room. And then the bathroom had, as I recall, 2 sinks and they were in the location in between the 2 bedrooms, and then at one end was a shower and one end was the water closet, so that you had privacy. You could use the water closet, the shower, and the sinks all at the same time. They shared cleaning it, and they switched off on who was providing the toilet paper, paper towels, and whatever that you needed, cleaning supplies. It worked out quite well. It gave the girls some privacy. And at the end of the hallway, there was a nice lounge area where she met many students also from that floor who she are still good friends with. So that worked out quite well. Now, she had the dining service for all her meals. There was no kitchen. And that wasn't necessarily a draw for her. She likes to cook, but I think that worked out well for freshman year, first year anyway. She's been cooking since and probably doesn't like it anymore.
Wonderful. I got a couple of questions asking us about our deposit deadline. We've actually moved it. It's going to be June 1st this year. So normally it would be on May 1st, given circumstances. We have pushed it back. If you guys are planning to have your student live on campus, it's $800 in total. $500 of that goes directly towards tuition fees. $300 goes towards housing to hold your seat in housing. If your plan is to commute and not live on campus, that's certainly allowed as well. That deposit is $500 for tuition, and then there's no housing needed. So it's just $500 in that case. We do need both deposits before any housing contract or questionnaires get sent out to students, however. So you do need both of those in order for that process to start. I also had a couple of questions from parents here. Just wondering about sort of the class load experience for your students when they were going through their program, especially in the first year. Jen, I hope you could start with this, and then Rachel, hopefully it has all the stresses of the first year classes and everything haven't left, and you can speak to it as well.
Okay.
That's so funny. I was really, really nervous that she would have too much going on and not enough time to get acclimated, you know, being in Boston, new people, new location, everything. And I can honestly say that I was pleasantly surprised at her workload and her course load. She had ample time for, you know, Leea was funny. She had an 8 o'clock class, and because she was in Matricaria, she got up at like 7:50. I went downstairs to class. She had plenty of time for rest. You know, she would take naps during the day because she was tired or whatever, and plenty of time to do her coursework. And she was still very active socially, going out and going to fun things with her new friends and things. So honestly, I was surprised it wasn't heavier than it was. So I was very happy with that, because I think that MCPHS has structured their first year so that these kids can get acclimated to their new environments in a positive way. And that I honestly give MCPHS high kudos for that, because that was one of my biggest concerns, and she's done very well.
I have to agree with Jen. The first year, the way that's set up, I think the school does a great job. I mean, the coursework is intense, but they give them the opportunity to balance it out so that they're experiencing that first year of college life and not becoming overwhelmed. Now, Abigail's first year course load versus my son's first year course load at a different school, which I won't mention, is completely different. But I think that they do a great job. You have the intensity, and yet there's enough you can balance without being overloading or overwhelming, I should say.
Excellent, excellent. And just a quick follow-up. Could you talk about how sort of your students have described class size overall, like number of students in their class, and what those experiences have been like in the classroom?
Absolutely. I think that was one of the big selling points for me with MCPHS, is the fact that there are smaller class sizes and there's a lot of one-on-one with your professors. They're very accessible, and even now, I mean, Leea can reach out to her professors anytime, and they've been very helpful to her. They do have larger lectures where there's a lecture hall, and one professor will do the lecture, and then they break out into groups. But even that has been great, because now you know your children, all the kids in that particular class are all receiving the same information. And it promotes, the kids can, you know, even if you're not in the same smaller group, you can still, if you have friends in the other group, still study together because everyone's getting the same information. And I really like that for the kids.
Yes, even with larger classes, there's still the opportunity to rewatch presentation and to have one-on-one with the professors. Abigail has mentioned how accessible everyone is. Whenever she has an issue, she can actually reach out and she will get an answer. They will give her the time, which is a huge help.
And one of the really cool things that I found, you kind of brushed on that, is that the classes are recorded. So if for any reason there's part of a lecture that you don't understand or you need to pay attention a little better, Leah's always been able to go back and rewatch that. And that's been a huge benefit for her as well.
Wonderful. Awesome. Beth, I had a couple of questions here from parents that were asking just dates of when to expect bills to become open so they can see them, and also when their deadline is to organize their payment for bill and things like that. Could you go over that again real quick?
Sure thing. Bills traditionally drop the first week in June, again to the student email address. That we do not mail them. It is all electronic. You'll expect to get them the first week in June with a bill due date of August 1st. So if you're looking at a student loan or a parent loan or a private loan, you want to start looking at those in May. The PLUS loans open, I think, April 27th, which is next Monday. So anytime after that, you want to be deposited. You don't want to be applying for a loan to a school without committing to the school first. But all of your financial plan needs to be in place by August 1st. That doesn't mean that your payment has to be here, but just the plan, whether you're going to do a payment plan, which we offer. A traditional plan is 5 months. You pay, a fifth of your bill the first of every month, starting July 1st right through December 1st. Or for our accelerated program, it's a 4-month starting on August 4th. And all of that information is online, or we can go over that with an individual phone call or appointment.
Wonderful. Thank you. I have gotten a couple other questions about just sort of some next steps that you guys are wondering about, things to be coming up over the summer, like class registration and when to find out who roommates will be and things like that. Generally speaking, right around mid to late July is usually when we release that information. So sort of playing around that timeline. I'm not sure if that could get delayed a little bit this year just because of current circumstances. But think of that as a pretty good place marker for the time being, is mid to late July of when both of those things will be coming out. Both the student schedules, we actually register students for their courses in that first year. And then in addition to that, also roommate selection. Our residence life office goes through that process throughout the summer here. So it's not as though it all comes all out in a batch, distribution of everyone getting it at the same time. They'll release it in pieces throughout the summer here. I also got a couple of other questions that fall sort of into the schedule side, so I've been waiting for that question to come up so I could answer that, about AP and IB classes and things like that. So real briefly, just to discuss that. With regard to AP credits, we are still accepting them, even if students are taking them online. We're not, changing our policy around that or what have you. One thing I always make sure I highlight is that science courses are not transferable. They're still very good for students to take them and get that experience and advanced learning, because that is quite frankly going to prepare them a lot more for the first year's curriculum. Something I never pull punches on is just how hard it is, because they are going in head first. There is no easy program on our campus. But as long as students score a 4 or higher on their AP exams and a non-science one, so whether that is AP language and composition, AP statistics, AP psychology, calculus 1, AP calculus AB or AP calculus BC, those could all be transferable with a 4 or higher on the AP exam. If your student is in IB programs, they would need to take the HL courses and score a 5 or higher in those course contents, just so you're aware. And what you want to do is, once those tests are complete, submit them over to the admissions office, either the exam organization, whether that be College Board or another one. They can submit those directly to us, and your student will fill that out during the exam. Or you could reach out directly to your student's admission counselor or the admissions office to follow up, and we will then give you the information on how to get those over to us as well here. So again, just to sort of recap, we'll be organizing course selection for students, AP and IB courses. You can still get credit for those this year. We're not changing that policy. I'd encourage you to make sure you get those submitted shortly after they've been taken, whether that be June, July, somewhere in there. And we'll make sure we get around and get that organized in there. I did get a couple questions around the health insurance waiver process. I think all three of you have run into this, and it's recurring every year. So Beth, do you mind if I start with you on that? And then Jen and Rachel, if you could both add in a couple of tidbits yourselves on what that process has been like for you.
Sure. So all students, because it's a state law in Massachusetts, have to have health insurance. So this university will bill them for the university's health plan every first semester. So if they start in the fall, they'll see it on the fall bill. And then they have the option to waive that if they have eligible coverage. The school does not determine that. University health plans will be the ones that you submit the waiver form to, and it's all online. And you complete that waiver. It does have a deadline to do that, which would be the same as the bill due date, so by August 1st. And once that is completed and successfully submitted, the charge will drop off of your bill. And it is annual. You have to do it every year. So just because you do it once doesn't mean next year you don't have to do it. But that's because it is a state law that everyone in Massachusetts has to have health insurance. You need to prove that you have health insurance. And the process is pretty simple.
It is very simple.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very simple process to fill out the form and provide the proof of coverage. We've never had any issue in it.
For Leea, she's actually, she did the waiver. So I'm glad to hear that we have to do it again in August. I'm sure she has it on her calendar, but it's good for me to know. She did the waiver, and it was very easy. You know, we saw that amount come up on her tuition bill, and she's like, "Oh, geez, I need to do something about this." And it was a very easy process. She filled it out. I had nothing to do with it, so it was easy enough for her to do.
You just need to have your membership card in front of you to do it, because they are going to ask you what your ID number is and what your health plan is. So if they have the card in front of you, there should be no issue being able to complete it.
Wonderful, excellent. So I do want to go back and sort of give some follow-up details because I got a couple other questions that came in here. Again, we are going to be keeping in touch with you guys about you know, how we're going to be evolving our processes over the summer here around COVID-19, and we want to make sure we keep you guys in the loop. We're going to be reaching out to your students directly. We're going to be reaching out to you guys. So again, just keep that in mind. It's, you know, I think the whole world is kind of in a tough circumstance right now of trying to say this is going to be a set deadline of when we're going to have this open again. We want to make sure that we're going to be safe first. So we are putting together contingency plans for all different pieces, and we'll be certain to make sure we keep you in the loop on what those processes are as we go through here. One other thing, I've gotten a couple of questions here about when internships or clinical rotations begin. It's a little bit different for every program. So for example, you know, our nursing students, they have clinical rotation requirements. They actually begin those during the spring semester of their second year. And that's a pretty similar process that many students in those accelerated programs, whether that be nursing, dental hygiene, medical imaging, and therapeutics from those schools, those follow. However, it's also very different depending on your other programs. So Abby also has a very different circumstance for her. So Rachel, would you mind answering what the process for Abby in not just internship, but also clinical rotations, because those are two different things?
Right. For the internships in the past years, she's been offered, as I understand it, now she did a lot of this on her own and would just ask me for what I thought primarily like areas that she would be looking at. She's given the kind of a sheet, or a lot of sheets, I guess, options of what she needs done and where it can be for each year. And then she would put in her first, second, and third choices and then get the assignments. And it's worked well for us for the past 2 years. She's gotten her first or second choice, and they've been very positive experiences too. Now this year for clinicals, she has one is it 6? I don't even know now. 1, 2. Well, however many it is now, going on to her 6th year, there was, it seemed like hundreds for her to choose from. And then she put in her top 10 for each season or rotation. And then that was assigned to her. So she starts her next one is at Lowell General Hospital. She's got one in Pennsylvania. She's going to Alaska for one. So they are all over. She's in Mass General. 3 are in Boston. 3 are away. Am I right on that? I'm not positive. I have it on the calendar. But it's been a very simple process, and she's gotten a lot from each one.
All right. Excellent, wonderful. Yeah, it can vary depending on the student. Some students do more in Boston, some will even do them abroad. So yeah.
Yeah, she wanted to go to London, but that wasn't an option. So she's going to Nome, Alaska.
I remember her telling me about that. That was a personal conversation. Sorry. But yes. So we are starting to get to the closing. I did have a couple of families ask about parking on campus. Just to sort of be clear, unfortunately, with our space restrictions around parking, we can't offer parking to students. It's one thing if they have an extenuating circumstance around a medical condition or something along those areas, but generally speaking, we don't have parking available for students on campus. It's even tight for faculty and staff to get parking spots on campus. So please keep that in mind. And I also, I want to make sure that we wrap up and sort of go through and make sure everyone can give sort of some last pieces of advice on next steps and things like that. So, and within your own personal areas with where we are right now and moving forward. So I'm going to start with Beth and then follow up with Jen and then wrap up with Rachel. You guys could each sort of give any last pieces of advice on next steps moving forward for families. What would it be?
Well, I think that the biggest takeaway today is never hesitate to call SFS. We are being overwhelmed with phone calls right now and emails about special circumstances that are happening with families with the COVID-19 and being unemployed or losing jobs permanently, temporarily. We're happy to work with our families. If you don't get a response, please email me. The staff is working remotely, which is really different for them. And it is a learning experience for a lot of us to do this distance work, but we are online every day, all day. I think that I was on over the weekend and many of my staff we're really here to help. Just never hesitate to reach out for help. We don't know what's going on at home if you don't tell us. And we just want to make sure that it is an open door policy. When we're on campus, we do walk-ins all the time. So now we do emails all the time. Please email us with any kind of concern. No question, it should go unanswered. If you're uncertain, reach out to us. If the staff is not responding in a day or two, which they should, reach out to me. I'm happy to intervene and try to get to the answers to your questions. As a professional, but also as a parent, I understand how scary it is to send your child away to school. And they're going to do good here. It's a great school. Like I said in the beginning, these students are all passionate about being here. They all have a driven, they all have such a sense of, I know what I want to do, help me accomplish it. And that's what we're here for. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I think what is unique in our situation today, given the current circumstances, is that I know the Brain Cells have been working on videos to show you the campus, answer any questions. I highly recommend keeping in touch with your admissions counselor. I have to, a little shout out to Allie. She has been amazing for Leea. I mean, through the process in the beginning, anytime Leea had any questions, she was able to reach out to her and get an explanation, have a friendly conversation. And even today, now Leea works with Allie and absolutely enjoys being with her all the time. And being in the administration, in the office, she's learned a lot and would welcome any phone calls from anybody. If your student has questions, or if you as a parent has a question, ask to speak to a brain cell. I think Rachel would agree. these kids are looking forward to sharing their experiences at MCPHS. They are very, very passionate. When I was on campus for Accepted Students Day, and I met many of these students and parents of the brain cells and the brain cells themselves, you can't help but notice how passionate they are, not only about their school, about being there, about their education and what they're getting out of it. And so happy to share with you. So use the resources that are out there, and you know, it's a great, great experience. Would you agree, Rachel?
I definitely would. For first year, between the brain cells and the peer mentors, the students are just so passionate about what they're doing. They're passionate about the school, and it's contagious. And I think that any new students too will find that there are so many resources, and it's just really a great experience. And for the car question, you don't need a car. It's not big, and everything's in walking or train distance. But yeah, I think that the assets are just amazing there. The resources, the student involvement, anyone will help you. They really will. Any of the other students, the peer mentors, the brain cells, it's really just a fabulous school. A good group of kids.
It is, it really is.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm feverishly typing away here, so sorry if my screen's shaking a little bit. I'm trying to answer some of the questions that we haven't been able to get to here. I did want to say before we close up today, again, a very, very big thank you to our panelists, Elizabeth Goreham, Jennifer Sarvela, and Rachel Hoffman. Again, the insight is a huge help. To Elizabeth's point, please reach out to us with your questions. I understand we didn't get to every single one. Some of them were a little bit more personal in nature, so I'm trying to get to those first here. But again, admissions@mcphs.edu and sfs@mcphs.edu are emails that you can reach us at. I'm actually, before I close out this webinar, I'm going to share a slide here with everyone that's written out so you guys have a chance to write it down at home. I'll leave it on for a couple of minutes at the end here. And then, I mean, really, the main thing I want to stress is, you know, despite the challenges we're facing as a world right now, there's really no more important or better time for your student to pursue not only an education here at MCPHS, but really a career in healthcare, period. I think if anything, what we're going through right now is proof that we do need more healthcare leaders in the world. And we're really excited to be a school at the front of this and developing and prepping these students around that goal. I think it's also important to note just how big the need has already been projected before everything happened. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics had healthcare roles accounting for 1/3 of new jobs that will be created by 2026. And I think it's really a great thing that, you know, you guys as families have done great work with your students to get them prepared and want to give back and want to go into a career in these fields. So I commend you for that. It also turns into, you know, a really good, you know, return on the investment that you're making. The average income for our students 10 years after they first step foot on our campus, not after graduation, is $116,000. So you know, the end result of it being worth it, it is very much worth it, both on the side of what the world needs and then on the side of it being manageable financially. And on top of that, we are very lucky. I mean, you heard both Jen and Rachel especially talk about all the opportunities available within the Longwood medical area. I really can't put that into words and how important and meaningful that is for students to have that network available at their fingertips, where they don't have to get on a 30-minute bus or train ride to get there. They don't have to drive. They don't have to really work hard just to create those connections. It's right around the corner, and it really is easy to fit it into your schedule, something that can be tough when you have to factor in a longer commute to get to those places. So there really is a lot that sort of makes us unique and a little bit different from what you might find at other schools. And with that, I'm going to make sure I share this screen. Again, thank you everyone for attending today. I want to make sure that you have this information, so I'm going to keep this up for a couple of minutes just so everyone can get this information. And I'm also going to go ahead and type out as many answers as I can while I'm waiting here. So again, thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and do keep in touch with us. All right, take care.